Strus. It's a three. Bullseye. Puts it down.
Koby Altman wasted no time making moves this offseason. Almost as soon as the free agency floodgates opened up, the Cleveland Cavaliers completed 2 deals to bring Caris LeVert back to the franchise and add Georges Niang by using part of their mid-level exception. Then, just a little over 12 hours later, the Cavs agreed to a sign and trade, bringing Max Strus to Cleveland in exchange for Cedi Osman, Lamar Stevens, and draft compensation. This is a lights-out run from Koby Altman. This is a lights-out start from Koby Altman that addresses Cleveland's biggest needs in the offseason while leaving enough wiggle room to continue building the roster as the year goes on. Starting with the decision to bring back LeVert, the Cavaliers know what they are getting here. A natural scorer and playmaker with the ball in his hands, LeVert has played multiple roles ranging from backup point guard to starting small forward. The biggest adjustment for LeVert was accepting an off-ball role after years of being a relatively high-usage shot creator. LeVert accepted this challenge, shooting a career-high 39% from deep and drilling a career-best 127 three-pointers last season. He also took it upon himself to become a consistent defender, displaying arguably the best defensive season of his career as one of Cleveland's best options at the point of attack. LeVert is returning on a 2-year, $32 million deal, putting him right in the same pay range as similar players such as Derek White, Norman Powell, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and Gary Trent Jr. Considering LeVert was eligible for a 4-year, $101 million extension and reportedly would have received more on the open market, but chose to immediately return to Cleveland and commit to winning with the Cavs, this seems like a bargain deal for the Cavs. And the last thing to note with LeVert's deal is that it's only a 2-year contract. This means both parties will have flexibility moving forward. LeVert, who is only 28 years old, will have an option to seek another deal, possibly with another team, by the end of the 2024-25 season. And if the Cavs feel LeVert's presence is no longer working, an expiring contract should be useful on the trade market. But as of now, LeVert is set to play the next 2 seasons as a key member of the rotation. And even with his weaknesses, LeVert has consistently been a net positive for the Cavs.
To the corner. Niang, sidestep 3. Oh! Philadelphia's up 136.
Shifting over to Georges Niang, the Cavs managed to sign him to a 3-year, $26 million deal. This puts him at a little over $8 million a year, leaving the Cavs with about $4 million in wiggle room to work with the rest of their mid-level exception. As for Niang himself, this is a pretty solid addition to the Cavs. It was clear to anyone who watched the Cavs last season that three-point shooting was their biggest concern, and while much of the offseason discussion has been focused on the 2 non-shooting bigs in the front court, Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, Cleveland's real issue, in my opinion, is they have a shocking lack of spacing on the wing. Last season, with Isaac Okoro and Lamar Stevens playing minutes, alongside an erratic shooter like Cedi Osman, and a player who lost all confidence in his jumper in Dean Wade, there was no margin for error on the wing. On any given night, the Cavs were strolling out 2 quality shooters, maybe 3 if LeVert was hitting from deep. This is why adding a player like Niang is so vital. He's a career 40% three-point shooter, and he made 154 three-pointers last season, which would have been the 3rd most on the Cavs. Furthermore, Niang shot a blistering 52% on corner three-point attempts, a shot he will receive quite frequently in Cleveland's offense. With dynamic guards like Mitchell and Garland looking to set up the 2 bigs in the paint, shots in the corner are almost always available for the Cavs. But no one on the roster was able to consistently make defenses pay for packing the paint, with Cleveland shooting the 7th worst percentage from the corner last year. It's possible Niang can fill this role, at least to a degree. He's a bulky, 6'7" forward who will likely play a lot of minutes at the 4 this season, given his lack of mobility on defense. I could see the Cavs using Niang in a similar way to Kevin Love, staggering him next to Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen to ensure they get as many opportunities as possible to play with space. The issue is Niang is not a great rebounder, and even with his bulky frame, he's not very effective at defending in the paint. His best attribute on defense is his ability to take a charge, but admittedly, he seems to flop on a good number of these plays.
A lot was made about Luka not even getting a touch on that final possession. Here comes Doncic. He's been aggressive. The flick.
Nonetheless, this signing is not meant to improve the Cavaliers' defense. The value Niang brings to the Cavs' offense could very well outweigh any of the negatives he brings on the defensive end. I think the Cavs are going to get great use out of Niang's floor spacing, and I trust him to make opponents pay for leaving him open more than I trusted any of the other existing role players on the roster. And then, there is the big swing of trading for Max Strus. Hot off a trip to the NBA Finals, Strus was one of Miami's most important members in their Cinderella run. And though Strus and Miami ran out of steam by the time they met with Denver, Strus has arguably proven more in one postseason than Cedi Osman or Lamar Stevens have in their career thus far. Look, I love Cedi and Lamar as much as the next Cavs fan, but if Osman was ever going to establish himself as a rotational player in Cleveland, it would have been during the last 2 seasons. The Cavs were desperate for the exact same skill set Cedi is supposed to bring, which is 3-point shooting on the wing. And yet, Cedi was in and out of the lineup, never truly finding his footing at any point in either season. Osman was even given a last-ditch chance in the playoffs where he shot just 30% on wide-open 3-pointers against the New York Knicks. Compare this to Strus, who shot 40% on his open attempts in the playoffs and averaged nearly 15 points per game in his series versus the Knicks. The Cavs are getting a legit shooter in Strus, someone who opposing defenses will actually respect and attempt to defend. Take a look at how Denver prioritizes 2 defenders on Strus in this play, in an effort to deter a 3-point attempt. This leads to a wide-open Kevin Love shot. Now look at how New York defended Cedi on a similar action, completely ignoring him to take away the role from Mobley. And of course, Cedi is unable to make the shot despite Brunson leaving him wide open. This was a trend that plagued Cleveland all throughout the playoffs, as New York ignored Cedi in screen actions. Fortunately, this should change with Strus on the floor. He's a much better motion shooter and has built a reputation for himself. If you leave him open, he will burn you. Strus is going to get a ton of run on the perimeter, and the spacing he will provide simply by standing in the corner is infinitely more than any of Cleveland's other role players could bring. Strus shot 45% from the corner last season. That's the 3rd best in the NBA of anyone to attempt at least 120 shots. Furthermore, Strus is a proven team defender. He isn't the best on his own, but he can play within a scheme, and I trust JB Bickerstaff will have no problem finding success with Strus on this end of the floor. All in all, the Cavs have added 2 shooters who would have topped any role player from last year, and retained LeVert for a bargain. The Cavs still have $4 million to work with in their MLE, and another $4 million they can use to target veteran assets, making this home run start from Koby even more exciting as more moves could be on the way.
In these playoffs, Strus on the fly, throws in. Wow, what a stroke from him.
His confidence, really since that New York series.